Hello everyone, it's Ashwin Rao. In today's video, I'm bringing you a brand that's relatively new to my channel that I had a chance to check out thanks to Penny Pinching Sartorial, one of my good friends on Instagram, sent me his pair of Jodhpur boots, which I recently published a video about, and that boot struck my curiosity even further in this brand, KMPT, which heralds from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. KMPT has been around for about 3 years and is an offshoot of another Vietnamese brand that the owner of this brand, Mr. Quach, decided to try to compete with makers coming out of Japan and Europe to try to elevate the quality of footwear coming out of Vietnam and bring prominence to the Vietnamese footwear manufacturing industry while creating a business of that model. Now, their website largely markets their footwear as either Goodyear Welted or Blake Stitch. This, I believe, is Goodyear Welted pair, and we're going to take a deeper dive into this really cool pair of loafers. Now, many of you who are in the classic menswear segment are very familiar with loafers' common slip-on design, and those of you who are more in the heritage footwear segment also often enjoy a slip-on to kind of dress up your wardrobe for when you need to, but yet remain somewhat more casual and in line with that rugged style. So, KMPT is a brand that offers you that aesthetic, the types of lasts, the general philosophy that can bridge that gap between the classic and the heritage footwear style segment. So this is their box. As you can see, a nice white box with the KMPT logo emblazoned in gold. There's the KMPT logo right there, as you can see. And here are the boots wrapped in what appear to be just bubble wrap, and we get some nice thin fabric shoe bags with a drawstring and what appears to be a cotton leather lace with a pull-up so you can kind of pull taut. As you can see, this pair has a bag that has the KMPT branding also emblazoned in that gold color. The KMPT box and the bag kind of echo each other in terms of style. So, pair of loafers here. We're going to take a look at this beautiful pair here of butterfly loafers. This is made up of a cowhide leather that's meant to resemble pigskin or peccary leather. So this is a cowhide. But if you pull up, you can see that it has somewhat of a mock embossed grain structure. So it's embossed, meaning that it's printed on here, but it resembles peccary or pigskin, which that triangular hair pore structure that you see in peccary and pigskin leathers. Here we have the loafers now unboxed, and you can see it has a very unique styling to it. Wanted to take you through the details. Already brought mention to this leather, which you can see is a embossed leather meant to mimic a natural pigskin or peccary style leather with this patterning here. And I think this leather is sourced from a European tannery. I'm not sure entirely which one, but their website suggests that they largely use Tannery Danone, which is somewhat soft square last. You can see the tip of the toe here kind of rounds off, but really does have that squared off profile. So I would call this a soft square last, and yet very elegantly done. I love the profile of that last with this sharper edge. It almost feels like there's an edge. And this is one thing that I love about the KMPT footwear is they do some really unique lasting to create unique lines and sight lines. And you can catch that when you flash the light across that there is more of a defined edge here to this loafer, and yet it's not overdone or overblown. It actually is really classy styling of that. As the leather is pulled taut, you lose some of that grain structure, which wouldn't normally happen with a non-embossed leather, but still nicely done. And I'll eventually apply a little bit of a shine to the tip here. You might have noticed one of my favorite things about classic dress wear is the detailing that can be put into some of the makes. And you can see right here, this has a very unique apron. This apron looks like essentially two pieces of leather joined right at this level here. And you see this very unique stitching here. We see a braided stitch adorning the most inner ridge of this vamp and apron here, followed by what looks like a separate, darker, similarly braided or at least laid down stitch across the edge of that apron, followed by yet another braid out here. So double braid with a unique stitching to fix the vamp piece to the remainder of the toe box. A very unique apron that, despite the double braiding, is still pretty subtle and brings detail and attention without becoming gaudy. It was the very unique structure of this top piece here, kind of the facing in some ways without the lacing. Facing without the lacing. But anyways, this is your classic style. You've seen this from other makers, this kind of double wrapped, co-affixed piece of leather across the top here, butterfly style. And I've seen makes such as St. Crispin's and others, Gatian and Gerling, do this with their styles. I believe Jay Fitzpatrick has his version of this as well. Nicely proportioned to the shoe. It doesn't look like it's too big or too small. And your pant line will kind of come across here. So you're only going to see about that much of the shoe, but enough to kind of bring attention when you kind of come up or across your legs. You'll see more of that shoe come up right there. This is not loose. This is actually affixed to the side of the shoe here. And similarly on the other side, affixed. So these are not loose straps. They're actually bound together. So this is not something you can adjust, for example. There are no holes here to adjust the strap. This is a fixed shoe in terms of its proportions. This is a very mildly tapered heel block. I'm going to bring the light up so we can kind of get a little bit more detail to that heel block. Here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 pieces of leather. See another level here of fudging across what I believe is the welt leather, and then you can see that the outsole stitching here is done at a very high density. I would call that probably about 8 stitches per inch. So very well done. Again, matching some of the quality you would see from the European high-end footwear manufacturers, brands such as Carmina, such as Crockett & Jones, such as even Gatian and Gerling. I would call this shoe on par in terms of quality of stitch work. The stitching everywhere that I can see is done very, very cleanly. See, another high-end flourish is that stitching then ducks underneath and is hidden. So that hidden stitch or blind stitch is not something you typically see with lower priced or more affordably priced piece of footwear. This is something you would see from, say, a Gatiana and Gerling. And I don't typically see that blind stitch because it usually takes some handwork to create that stitching, at least for Goodyear welted shoes. Usually you'll see the stitch go all the way along, but that blind stitch is yet another demonstration of production quality. On the other side, you can actually see that stitching subtly along the edge here, but it is done with an attempt to blind that stitching even along the outer waist here. This is a nice fiddleback waist, pretty hard fiddleback here. It's not sharp, but it's definitely creating that defined line along the waist. Is narrow, but not necessarily excessively narrow. The narrower you get in the classic menswear segment, oftentimes the higher the price point, but I'm not sure if that's really a necessary thing. It's a beautiful sole. Full grain leather sole. These are not JR branded soles. On the heel block, you have that diagonal line with the rubber back piece to prevent slippage, and then this nicely curved edge to the heel block here. And we already talked about this being a tapered heel block. That leather grain stack and a slight taper to the back edge as well as to the sides of the shoe here. And we separate the heel block from the waist with this little patterned asterisk right there, which I've seen in other makers and I think is a nice high quality design, hand done piece of stamping and work done there. So really nicely done. The heel block seems to be pretty well proportioned. It's not too short and it's not too long, and it flows with the symmetry of this particular shoe and size. Slightly beveled edge here, meaning that this handwork was done to create a softer edge to the waist. So a beveled edge on a fiddleback waist and a medium narrow fiddleback. And then you see this leather forefoot piece right through here and the toe plate. It doesn't feel like there's a ridge between the toe plate and the leather here, so it's well flushed to the edge of that toe plate. Nary a stitch out of place. Everything is done quite well, but you can see done with good effort and precision, almost to the level of fit and finish that you would see from, say, a Japanese maker. We see a sock liner, a half leather sock liner here with the KMPT branding, a little bit of arch support built in here. This is not something you can take out. And if you look inside, you see a little bit of ridging on the inside there, which actually to me suggests that this might have been hand welted. I know that a lot of the international makers often will trumpet Goodyear welting when the shoe is actually constructed by hand. And in the West here, particularly in the US, there's certainly an appreciation for hand welted shoes. Now, from my standpoint, these punch at a level of quality that's right there, if not surpasses what's available from Carmina, in that Carmina doesn't typically offer blinded waists. They typically offer more of your traditional Goodyear welting construction. Here we also see this really unique double braided apron, which is not something you see from a brand such as Carmina. So I actually would put this above the level of Carmina. You can also see these little ridges along the inner aspect of that apron, which is usually from a hand done work to create that apron and bring those stitches and these pieces of leather together. So another sign of handwork along the shoe here. And that again speaks to a level of quality that's above and beyond what I'm seeing here. And granted, unsure of the true quality of this after I put these on and wear them, but the fit and finish is certainly at a level comparable with, say, Argentum line from Antonio Macariello or Graziano Gerling in their basic line. You're going to see some of the same flourishes from those much more well-known and highly regarded footwear manufacturers. Yet here you're seeing something like that at a more affordable price point. Give these guys a very careful look. I don't believe there have been a brand broadly featured other than their Blake Stitch models, which were featured by Michael Baldinger, MB Shoe Doc on his channel a couple of years back. But this is above and beyond that level of quality from what I can tell. These guys have really elevated their game in a way that's pretty darn impressive. Back with a little bit of a shoe shine on these beautiful KMPT loafers. My favorite pure polish products, high shine wax polish, as well as our standard wax polishes, in this case in dark brown. This is a dark brown paste wax polish. Water and a dauber, as well as a brush from Paul Brungard and a Wellington brush, and basically a lot of elbow grease. And you can see how much this shoe pops now with that little bit of shine applied. Just really a beautiful makeup. Contours, angles, lines, all highlighted by our pure polish product shine. Very, very happy with this pair. I did give these a brief try on, just so you know. With a pair of medium thickness socks, they would be true to size, as in this is a UK 9, EU 43, and with a pair of socks they fit great, but medium thickness socks. If I were going to go barefoot or with a thin pair, I might size down 1/2 additional down just to make sure you get your sizing right. But very pleased with this pair from KMPT. This leather really does acquire a very nice luster and shine. You can see almost a high shine built up over just about 15 to 20 minutes of shoe care. I really do think that this is a brand that if you want to have a very high quality pair of footwear at a affordable price, you're not going to go wrong with a brand such as KMPT, because it's not going to cost an arm and a leg. It's going to give you exceptionally high quality that's going to catch the attention of footwear enthusiasts in the classic segment, and yet be appreciated by somebody who may be more into boots. KMPT really doing a fantastic job with their loafer pattern, and I am just thrilled with what we're seeing here. Take care, have a good one, and see you later.